should we just go over what we did in the... By the way, this is going to have spoilers. Just letting you know. This is our initial thoughts of Passengers with Chris Pratt and... I don't know the other girl's name. Jennifer Lawrence. All right.
Yeah.
And then that one guy who's pretty funny. I liked him. They enjoyed. I forget his name.
His name was Arthur in the movie. I don't know who that
actor is. Yeah, but you've seen him in other stuff.
Yeah. And then there was that other dude from The Matrix.
Yeah. Morpheus.
Yeah.
He's like, this is like the Bryan Cranston of the film. He's like, oh my god, it's Morpheus. Oh, no, he did.
Yeah.
All right.
No, I mean, that was real disappointing.
Yeah, but, so yeah, I guess this will just be our initial through. I thought it was good. I guess if I had to give it our rating system that we set out, which we'll go into more detail in a future video, because this is a learning process for us, I would give it... Or you want to do 5 nuts or 10 nuts? I feel like for this movie, as complicated and weird as it is, I feel like 10 nuts would be a good...
I guess.
Yeah, a good scale. I would give it maybe like an even 5.5 nuts. So like... So that would, you guys can do the math. There's 2 nuts in a sack, so
we'll just do some like illustration of it.
Yeah. But anyways, okay. So on with the let's start at the beginning. I don't know. I thought the beginning was strong. I liked it.
I think the beginning was one of the best parts of the movie.
Honestly. Oh, for sure. Like. Dude, just like the way Chris Pratt just woke up alone and it was like, oh fuck, and then he just kind of went on through his day. He didn't even think about waking anyone up. It was literally just, hey, you know, if I was in that situation, I'd be like literally trying to wake everyone up, like as many people who could help as I can. I understood he couldn't get into the crew members things, and I get that, which is another part I will get into later because that bothered me. Like... It was just, like he went through the stuff, and I like how they touched on the isolation, and like they didn't even like touch on how long it had been. Like they just kind of let it pass. It was like I thought it had maybe been like a couple months. It had been a full year. It was insane. And
that was at 2 points in the movie they did that.
Yeah, and it was probably one of the most smoothest montages I've ever seen.
Yeah,
and it really it's pivotal. It plays into it very well. But yeah, and then Chris Pratt like struggles and he gets drunk and all that stuff, and he almost kills himself.
Yeah, almost walks into space without a spacesuit.
Yeah, I like to play this game with movies with actors that I watch a lot of, where it's like I try to connect the plot points. And I like to think this is what he did between the time he was abducted as a child in Guardians of the Galaxy and the point he meets up with the Guardians.
Yeah, okay, yeah, sure.
He just changed his name and like went about.
He became a mechanic.
Like, yeah.
Somehow. Yeah,
for sure. But yeah, so he like kind of struggles and he goes through suicide. And he basically is just living, and he has like this. I thought it was neat how they did like the classes of people, like how people had certain passes and all that stuff. Like it was like the Titanic kind of, and I guess that's how you could classify this movie, as like the Titanic of space.
It's pretty similar in some ways.
Yeah. No, like that they have like these bracelets that class it, and I thought that was actually really neat. Like it was like, okay, here's this simple life that he has to live because he's not like as important.
Yeah.
Which I feel like was a key part of the movie, was like him not being, he was expendable. He was necessary but also expendable, which is one of the key reasons why he left. He wanted his trade, which was expendable on Earth, and was like not really, it was meaningless to mean something.
Yeah. Which it would in the colonies that we're moving to.
Yeah, and then he turns to an asshole and tries to wake up Jennifer Lawrence, or he thinks about it. This is where we get into the middle, the arc, where he thinks about waking her up. And what did you think about it? Like, I was like, do it. I could hear people behind me just going, no, oh my god, no, don't do
I mean, we
it.
knew he was gonna do it.
Well, yeah,
It was
she's in the trailers,
Yeah.
but
Well,
I
like,
thought she was gonna wake him, and I was initially very confused whenever like he woke up and she didn't.
yeah, I thought that was gonna happen at first,
Yeah,
but then when he started like
breaking down mentally.
yeah, and he like saw her and he like started like investigating who she was and all that, and he just kind of fell in love with like her character or whatever.
Which I thought they took a very nice approach to. Like, they could have, like, washed over all that stuff. They could have just been like, they could have washed by really fast, but they went into depth about that. Like, they went into, like, how he's actually...
Yeah, because she was a writer and he like read all her stuff.
Yeah, like, and it wasn't just, I'm reading, going really fast, or, like, all this stuff. They took their time with that. They let it, like, him come to that conclusion that he's gonna do it, and he just makes that mistake where he opens up...
Yeah.
Like, the initial Pandora's box of what happened and his own mistakes, like, naturally, which I thought was, again, at this point, this movie was really strong. If I had to rate the beginning of it, I'd probably give it, like, maybe 7 to 8 nutsacks. But, like, no, it was definitely a strong point of the movie. So, when you woke him up, what was your initial opinion? Just, like, in the immersion of the experience of... Is he gonna do it, or like, do I want him to do it, or do I want him not to? Like, I don't want him to stoop that low.
Well, I mean, it was kind of like obviously, like the moral thing would be not to do it. But,
Yeah.
But I mean, he had been alone for like a year with only like
so
an
like,
android to talk to.
What did your like initial opinion like? Because like, I mean, when I was watching that, I was like, okay, well, crap, what the fuck would I do in that situation? And then I realized I'm not the morally upright character I am, and I'd be like, I'd open the shit out of that.
I mean, honestly, I would. I don't know. I mean, you would have. He lived in isolation for a year. Of course, he would like.
No, yeah, I mean, you're not sane at that point.
Yeah. So.
But and then that's where, and this is where the movie kind of lost me. It was the whole big liars reveal thing that they do in movies, where like he was like, oh shit, I woke her up. See, if I was there, I'd be like, I went crazy. I've been awake for a year. I'm so sorry, but I woke you up. You're gonna hate me for the next few months.
Yeah, but instead he like just kind of hangs out with her and they just kind of fall in love and all that bullshit. And,
yeah, and then and then he tells the android not to tell her, and we'll get back to this later.
Yeah, because it's a secret. It's a secret.
It's a secret.
Yeah, it's a secret.
And it's like this whole thing, and which I don't know. I feel like. Yeah, but they tell her not to tell, so he lives in his life. He's like, I'm gonna tell her at some point, and he never does. Like, he lets a whole year pass.
Yeah.
And this whole plan to marry her and all this stuff, and they do all this stuff, like lots of sexing. You see tons of Chris Pratt's ass, which is more ass of his than I've ever needed to see in my life.
Yeah, I mean...
It was basically 50 Shades Grey from that point in that movie.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. But, total guy flick, just seeing guy ass for about, I want to say maybe like 15 minutes straight. So he gets up the courage to like try to ask her to marry him, and then just for the sake of progression of plot and drama, they don't even like, because there's at this point like there's like cascading system failures, like they're going into like how like the things are starting to break down, characters are starting to notice, and they don't even show the android, which is the best character. Arthur was probably my favorite thing about the movie. Yeah, like hands down, great. Just like they don't even show him like glitching out or whatever, but like it's just like he just gets a personality, turns into an asshole, and just like goes like, look, he woke you up. And basically just out of nowhere.
Really that. It was because Lawrence's character, like she said something like there are no secrets between us or something, and then like Chris Pratt's character said that like that's true, and Arthur heard that, so obviously he thought she already knew about it.
And I could see where maybe you made that connection. I made the connection that he like kind of gave him like an expression like that's true. Like, you know,
Yeah,
like,
but
hey,
he's an
don't say
android.
yeah.
Android, so he probably didn't.
But they didn't give a facial reaction to him. Like, you know, it's like, I don't know what's going on. I am a robot. But, and I guess, yeah, that's where the movie lost me a bit. I was like, okay, this was just sake for plot progression. They could have explained that a lot better. Yeah. So, like, they spend the next, I don't know, 15 minutes, let's say, like, just hating each other.
Yeah.
And which I thought, you know, was, you know, it was a decent reaction. I feel like Jennifer Lawrence's expressions and reactions were kind of candid and a little bit like weird at some points. Like, she's just like fucking making weird sounds and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah,
this was kind of the part where I honestly, like, in the beginning of the movie, I kind of saw it going this direction. I felt like he was obsessing over her, like, before he woke her. So I kind of felt like that's a direction they could have gone, is having like a
horror movie.
Yeah, like,
dude, yeah, I would totally have gone for
like,
that.
He would be obsessed with her, and she would like be afraid of him, I guess.
Like, they showed her jogging in the beginning, and I was like, dude, that's gonna come into play later. She's jogging, like, you know, she has to have that cardio, and he's just eating like shit tons of bad food, so he's probably not gonna be good at running. I'm like, dude, this could be exactly like The Shining. It would have been great, and that's what I was expecting. I was expecting a mix between The Shining and 2001: Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
Which, you know, in my mind, that would have been fucking great. Like. Yeah. That would have, I mean, it's probably...
I feel like that would have worked very well with the whole isolation theme
and
all that.
Oh, yeah, especially in space.
Yeah, because there's only them.
And, like, having the romantic aspect of that, I mean, yeah, you could have had it where they well, we'll get into that, but, like, you know, where they're together, and it's, you know, you still could have had that worked out, like, but it could have been like very well gone into the depth about his psychology and all that stuff, and about being alone and what it drives you to do.
Yeah.
Is like, I mean, we've all been in that situation where like we've been so alone that like we do stupid stuff. You know, it affects your personality. But yeah, so at this point we're getting into the end, and this is where well, I mean, I don't want to say this is where the guy wakes up, but Chris Pratt plants a tree, and then the Morpheus guy is just like, who the hell planted a tree in my place? And I was like, oh shit, this is shit's about to go down. I mean, and this is where I find the most, like, Chris Pratt knows how to wake people up. They know the ship is failing. The Morpheus guy has this bracelet that allows him to basically access anything, and the fucking Jennifer Lawrence useless at this point right now, so I mean, fuck her. But they could have easily just woken like a few really important people, like say mechanics and stuff like that, people who need to operate the fucking ship.
But then there will also be the whole moral thing of...
Well, I'm sure they have more than one. So, like, it's not just one mechanic for those 1 month or one this. I'm sure they have shifts, so they can wake up a couple of them and just, you know, do that. Because, I mean, you at least having that extra person there would make things a lot easier.
Yeah.
And even when, like, they even address this later on in the movie, it wasn't like, oh, I mean, I get it. Like, you have this person that's waking up, and it's like, oh my gosh, there's another person. And then at this point, like, Jennifer Lawrence and Chris Pratt aren't like fighting anymore, which was a relief, because that part of the movie was kind of ass.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought
there's still some hostility between them, but
yeah, there's still hostility, but it's like not as bad. But yeah, and then I felt like they could have gone in a completely different direction of this film. I feel like this film, it was good because it was a solid pull-off for what it did.
Yeah.
But it also, the intrigue of it, what made me want to go see this was because, like, watching it, the trailers and all that stuff, it was like, this can go in any direction.
Yeah. And
like, there's so much potential for it, for this idea, for this, like, being stuck on a ship, the isolation, everything like that.
Yeah.
They could have gone Castaway, Titanic, all this shit, but they didn't,
Yeah.
and that's where it lost me.
Yeah, like it could have gone many directions, and it went one. I wasn't.
What expecting? Yeah,
It was.
it was like kind of like they went into uncharted territories, but they played it safe.
Yeah.
They didn't experiment with the idea that they had in a successful way, and basically they saved the ship and all this stuff, and Chris Pratt's like, oh, I'm expendable, I want you to
Because there was like another pod.
yeah, like a thing. And this is what my initial problem was, like, so they save the ship and all that stuff, but and then she saves him, and then they get and at this point also Morpheus is dead. So,
Which happened really quickly, like after.
yeah,
Like,
I
he was
did
sick.
like the send off they gave him though, the funeral, the spaceman funeral, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It always makes me wonder though, like, do you think like aliens find our dead bodies or shit like that they send into space? Because they did it with a couple of the Star Trek cast
I
members.
don't know, dude.
It's just like you just find a Star Trek cast member in space dead, and just aliens are just like, what the fuck is this? But yeah, no, like, so this is where it pissed me off. Like, even at that point, at the very end, where he's like, hey, I want you to get into this pod. Like, if she had accepted and just been like, look, I understand the sacrifice you're pulling and all this stuff, and that still would have been a very good movie. That I would have rated that a lot higher than what we did. And I'm not saying it's a bad movie. It's a good movie. It's just not, oh my god. It's not like the next Birdman, which we fucking love Birdman, by the way.
That fucking movie is amazing.
Yeah, it's seamless. It's a classic. But no, they do this, and the way they do it is just so, it's bad. It's just bad. It doesn't fit. Like, they could have even had her, like, the other option is, like, she could have been like, no, I want to live my life with you. And then she lives her life. And she writes it down, and then she, like, say she just, like, goes into the slumber and, still becomes a journalist or whatever. Men usually die earlier before he's been out in space. Who knows the fucking health problems he's gonna have? He probably is gonna have like some sort of asthma or related issue or whatever. Probably gonna die really soon. Unlike someone who I was not expecting to die within their lifetime. And that's my theory, and that upsets me. We'll get into that in just a little bit. But he like, sorry, they're watching a movie down there if anyone can hear that. But yeah, like, so she's like, they decide to live their life, and then it cuts to like just like 88 years later, or was it like 86 or 87 or something?
It was 88 years later when the ship arrived at like the new planet.
Which I feel like the part with the Morpheus part and them hating each other should have taken up a lot more time than it did. Because the stuff he did was morally wrong, and she should have been mad for at least another year.
Yeah.
But for sake of plot, it's understandable, and time and all that. I get that, but or at least like a good 6 months. But either way, so they do this, and he had planted a tree, and then there was this whole and I thought that was funny. I thought it was genuinely funny, but it was still not a good fit for the movie. That was a good ending, but not for that movie.
Yeah.
It was kind of a
like
mix and match of what it should and shouldn't be.
Like, yeah, like they started with a tree, and then like 88 years later, there's like this entire garden with like animals and shit. There were chickens there. Where did they come from?
Well, no, you didn't see that.
Oh wait, there was
there was like they were frozen, which
yeah.
means they're assholes, and they unfroze them and fucked over everyone.
Yeah, it's.
Because think about that. He had to. I mean, I get it. Okay, so he tried to be romantic and he unfroze some roses earlier in the movie.
Yeah. And
like I was like, okay, you might have just like killed off all the roses for everyone else in the future. Who knows what their supply?
Take all of them. I mean.
Yeah, but he obviously when you unfreeze something, you can't freeze it back. I mean, not very easily. But he does this, and it's like who, and also all those chickens had lived past the life expectancy of everyone else. You realize that, right?
Yeah.
Who was feeding them? Who was doing all this stuff?
Like, did they die just before like the other people were unfrozen?
Yeah,
I
like
guess.
yeah, like they don't really explain that very well. And then, like I said, it's just a ending that doesn't fit. They had so many potential points in which they could have not. I mean, they needed to wrap up the film, but they could have left some things like
Also,
as it was, where he dies or stuff like that. And yeah, what were we gonna say?
I feel like I found it very hard to believe that like after like they fixed the ship and all that, and like everything was fine from that point on for like the next like 80 something years or whatever. Like it was just fine.
Oh yeah.
There's like no way that there has to be some sort of conflict at some point.
Oh yeah.
And there has to be like if because the problem started when the ship hit like a large meteor.
Or meteor belts.
Yeah,
and like there's no more of those in the fucking universe.
Yeah, like there was like some part of it like it struck the ship and like knocked some shit out.
Also, another plot hole. They've obviously been to the planet before because they had to found the planet, and then they plotted the chart. So why the fuck did you go straight through a fucking meteor belt?
Who knows?
But yeah, and then this is the point where I was like, fuck this. Like, at the end of it, he was like, a great friend once said, blah, 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 blah. And they quoted the robot, the Arthur guy, which is a great fucking character. But, and then I was thinking, I was like, why was that past tense? And then I was like, fuck, Arthur died. Because, I mean, he had been smashing his head and all this stuff. And, like, they assumed that they fixed him at the end, but then it was just like bam, bombshell, past tense, you know this person's dead, which I'm assuming is what happened.
Well, he also said the whole thing about like we all die, even like robots become like scrap or whatever.
Yeah,
that's something he said. So I guess like maybe they scrapped them.
Yeah, I feel like if they had focused more on them towards either the end of their life or something, have them die, because the whole plot of this movie is like, oh shit, we're gonna die.
Yeah.
Like, but no, it got so lighthearted at the end, and that's what.
Yeah, it doesn't fit.
Yeah, because it had you on the edge of your seat. That's what this movie did. It had you on the edge of your seat. Even if it focused on the relationships and all that stuff that happened, it still had you on the edge.
Yeah. Which
was great. And like I said, it which was fine. Even if it was a rom-com or a rom-drama or whatever, the psychological potential for the plot in this was so good.
See, I feel like it had a lot of like
sorry, phones.
Like it has a good build-up, but then like the first half was good, then the second half kind of fell off.
Yeah, I was still invested though.
Yeah,
like it was invested, they still could have pulled it off, and that's what it was. They could have pulled something magnificent off. They really had a good film on their hands, and the execution was
not.
Well, the end part was subpar, but the beginning and the middle, I mean, the climax, for what it was, even if they had stuck with that, would have been great. Even with the whole ship malfunction and all this stuff, and it still would have been good. They didn't even need the fucking Morpheus guy. Like, they could have gone without him. I mean, they did need him, but they also didn't need his character. They just needed a fucking wristband.
Yeah.
Like, his character, it did bring them together, and for the direction they went in, that would have been fine. But also just them realizing that we need to save the ship and doing that. I mean, it's been done before many, many times, but it could have been like an enemy mine situation. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but it's about this guy who gets stranded on the planet with an enemy alien, and then somehow the alien ends up having, I don't know if it's his baby or if it's like, I think either the alien's just pregnant or the guy, like, they shake hands or something, and that's how the alien species. But it's the psychology in it is really good, and I feel like they really should have focused on the personal relationship of everything.
Yeah.
But then again, they also could have focused on just like the isolation and it.
Yeah, I really like. I felt like I wanted this to be like more of kind of like a thriller or horror thing. Like I wanted it to
I
be
would have
more
watched
of
that too.
I wanted it to be like psychological. I think this guy was like had gone insane like from isolation, and it was obsessed with this woman. That's kind of what I felt would have been the
Oh
best
yeah,
course
for
of
sure.
it. But
Oh yeah, for sure. And yeah, I guess all in all though, because I mean like we could go on and on about this, but I mean
yeah,
I don't know what more left we could say.
I feel like the climax with the whole like they figured out what was wrong with the ship and all that when and they like needed to fix it. I feel like that was really quick. I feel like they should have been lasted a little bit longer.
And I'm sure if they had cut out all the lighthearted stuff,
Yeah,
it could have been really like kept you on your edge.
I feel like the part where like Chris Pratt, he's like go out in space, like his tether to the ship was like broken and all that, and like his oxygen is lost.
He should have just died.
I feel like it would have been better if he just did.
Yeah, dude, that's what I'm saying. Like, if he had just died,
Yeah, like
it would have tied the
instead
movie together so nicely, and then it would have come full circle. Say like it was a horror movie where he was obsessed with her because of the isolation and all that stuff, and say, and this is a crazy plot point, and it could have sucked if they did this, but it also could have been fucking great. Say like he dies or whatever, then she experiences the isolation, she goes crazy, she wakes someone up, and then it just rinses and repeats, and the sequels write themselves, and like generations upon generations of this ship travel, there are crazy people waking up, because I mean I guarantee you out of 5,000 people one of them's a psychopath.
yeah.
Dude, like, it could have worked that way, and that's what I'm saying. This movie has so much potential for any genre, it's just the idea and the essence of it. It takes from different things, but the potential is definitely there for so many different possibilities.
It has a lot of potential, but like the end product of it is
like it's
kind of...
It's a good movie, definitely worth watching, definitely rewatchable, but it's... The stuff that called you to watch this movie is definitely not there. It doesn't.
Yeah, I didn't really know a whole lot about it like before I saw it. I saw like those in like space and like I realized it was like about like being isolated in space. I realized that.
Yeah, and there's just something so intriguing about that. Just something so intriguing about the vastness, the space, and like Castaway, great fucking movie.
Yeah.
What is it about? It's about his struggle just being alone.
Yeah.
And they could have done that plus one, plus another person, having the effects of that and being on this alone and all that stuff. And it could have been so many good things. It really could have. Yeah. But in the end, it was a good movie. Not just an okay movie. It was a good movie, but it wasn't. It wasn't the best it could be.
It did what it set out to do, I think, but I don't think that's what I wanted it to do.
Yeah. And they say people don't know what they want when half the time or whatever it is, but I feel like going into this movie, like we knew what we wanted. We knew it was there. We just couldn't find it. Like you just couldn't find it in the shit. Like it was almost there though. It got so close to being a really, really good space movie.
Yeah.
Like.
And instead, it's just kind of.
And I'm talking like up there with like 2001: Space Odyssey. Like.
Yeah, it definitely had potential, but in the end, I feel it's just. I was kind of disappointed.
Yeah. I feel. And it's not a letdown. Like I'm strangely satisfied with the movie, with what it did. I'm like, okay, they pulled it off. Like if I had gone in expecting this, would have been completely happy.
If that's what I had expected. From the beginning,
like if that's what had come across.
Yeah.
But
I feel like the marketing maybe was a little off for it.
Like not even that. Like the marketing was good for it. Like it made us go see it, but
but like
the what we got was not. Yeah,
is what I'm saying.
So I mean, if you're watching this and you're thinking about going to see the movie, just like go in expecting like. More of, I guess it would be classified as an 80s adventure movie where it has a little bit of everything. They don't really make adventure movies that often, but that's what I would kind of classify it as, because that it includes romance and all that
it's
stuff.
It's a romantic drama, really.
Yeah, a romantic drama with a little bit of action.
Yeah,